Walk like an Egyptian.
Welcome to Revlog, where Aaron is beatboxing now.
Yeah. And don't forget the
oldies but goodies.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
80s power ballads.
Yeah, then this is where Bryan comes with amazing 80s music trivia.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Were they not in the 80s?
They were not.
They're in their 80s.
They're in there. Oh, I love it.
Good.
So this week we move from Abbey Road to Colossians 1, verses 20 through 23. Now, oddly, our Bible study materials begin in the beginning of a sentence here. So we're in the middle of a sentence, starting with verse 20 and going through 23. Right. But this section of 4 verses is just bursting with theology and this grand picture of Christ. So, Aaron, why don't you help us get started? What were your initial reactions?
So, I think in the first 23 verses of Colossians, Paul 2 times lays out the gospel. I mean, start to finish, lays out 11 to 14 is a beautiful picture of, who Christ is, what he came to do, how he has reconciled us to him. Yeah. And I felt the same thing in this 20 to 23. You talk about if he was made for the fullness to dwell in him. The only way that we can reside in him is if we have a perfect relationship with him. The only way we have that perfect relationship is if we are reconciled to him through his blood. That we were, that we make peace through the blood of his cross, that we were alienated by our own wickedness. Do you know what I saw in this?
What's that?
3 circles.
3 circles. You can do it. You can do it right here.
3 circles right in here. As reading through this, Paul is laying out, again, very clearly who Christ is, our brokenness and our separation from him, and the only way to get back to him is through
that's a perfect point here, Aaron, that you can work right through the whole 3 circles presentation of the gospel with these verses. You can kind of move through this Colossians 1 and work all the way around that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
You're not going to get any better than that. What do you got?
I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
Aaron hit the nail on the head. So, Bryan, just give us some 80s music trivia.
Talk about Abbey Road. I just want to point out just a small thing, although I don't think the implications are small, and that is the death of Christ's physical body. I just want to say this reality is grounded in both the physical and the spiritual realm. Jesus Christ came in the flesh, and this was a very important point that the biblical writers would make, and that later on that people would really contend for, because it's easy to get very sort of ethereal, or concept-oriented in our faith, and it really has a grounding in physical reality and spiritual reality, both. Christ was had and has still. I mean, he's still embodied, but his physical body was with us and was put to death on the cross. This is a place and time in history,
absolutely,
in human history. Not just an idea,
I love
a place and time in human
Paul
history.
continues to do that. He continues to remind us of his sovereignty, of his bigness, then he comes back and goes, "This man who died for you."
That's exactly right.
He just one and the same. It's really
that's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So Aaron hit the nail on the head. You just hit a home run. I don't know which one's better, because I had this.
It doesn't whether you're building a house or playing a game. I don't know.
But I had the same thought as you read through this text. There's this special consideration of the humanity of Christ.
That's right.
That is, it's poignant, and I was grateful for Paul bringing that out in this description of the Christ. His humanity is a part of that, very much so. Yeah, Aaron, the question that came for you here out of this text.
Well, at the end of this passage, it talks about that we need to be continue to be grounded in who Christ is, so that we continue to be reconciled, that we continue to be blameless. So. This idea that we are continually submitting ourselves to him, so that and seeking after his fullness, not our own. So are we treating Christ like it's, I've got my check mark and so I'm done. He's done it for me. Or are we really continuing to ground ourselves in his word and who he is? I think we must ask ourselves that every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Really good.
Yeah. Brian, so when you read this, what question came to mind?
How hostile do I make Christ appear to people? In other words, he says there was this hostility that existed, but Jesus has bridged that gap. Now, formally speaking, the people who are now in Christ no longer feel that hostility. But there's also the possibility of being reconciled for the person who's lost. And Jesus says, he condemns the Pharisees, saying in Matthew, I think 23, he says, you go over land and sea to make a convert and end up making him twice as much of a son of hell as you are, and you slam the door in people's faces, and you put burdens on people that nobody can bear. And we tend to continue this story of hostility between God and man when what we must be doing, I think, is presenting the possibility that there can be peace. There is not continued hostility. The Lord is ready for people to come to him.
That Jesus Christ is not a picture of hostility.
That's right.
He's the picture of hope.
That's exactly right.
There is hostility.
Yes.
But Jesus is not the one.
Possibility, right. There is hostility, but Jesus is not the one holding out that hostility. He is saying, I'm ready.
Yeah. So your question is, do we portray Jesus as a picture of hostility?
Yes.
Versus that picture of hope?
Exactly.
Well, that's a really good question.
Well, I get really burdened by that in my own life. How far away do I keep Christ from people?
That's good. And he's not distant. I mean, that gets that humanity of Christ. He's not some distant deity.
That's right.
But he
That's
is
exactly right.
the flesh and blood.
Yes.
Right?
That's
we know
right.
in humanity.
Here and now, flesh and blood.
That's right. Yeah. Help us answer these questions. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below.